We're getting closer and closer to the beginning of Nebraska's fall camp, and the big storyline this year, as always, what will be the biggest positional battle for the Big Red? Is it at that wide receiver spot? Maybe in the secondary, maybe on the defensive line, but there's one battle that nobody is talking about that's going to dominate the storylines over the next couple months, none other than the Nebraska tight end position. Is Heinrich Haarberg finally going to break out for the Big Red? Is it going to be a guy like Luke Lindenmeyer? What's going on with Carter Nelson? Is he even going to play? And so much more, another hidden gem that I want to talk about. So this is a loaded video. We're going to talk about specifically the tight end position, and that's battle, what I think is going to happen. Hit that like button if you're fired up. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan, it would make my day. It takes 2 seconds. Join this family. Hit that subscribe button for daily content. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get into it. Previewing, in my opinion, the biggest positional battle going into the fall for Nebraska. This could go anyway. There's 4 players who I could believe could be Nebraska's starting tight end going into 2025. Let's get things started with the odds-on favorite, arguably the MVP of all of spring practice, none other than Mr. Luke Lindenmeyer. And Luke Lindenmeyer is somebody who, honestly, I think is really disrespected because nobody ever talks about him. The storyline's always Heinrich Haarberg, who we'll talk about. The storyline's always Carter Nelson if he can take that big step. But Luke Lindenmeyer, as it stands, is the best tight end on the team. He's listed at 250 pounds, 6'3". He's basically Nate Borkerture 2.0. He's a great blocking tight end, which is very important in football to set the edge, especially in the running department. But really what he's done so far in spring ball and in summer conditioning is been working on his body. He's been working on becoming a threat vertically, right? Catching at a high level, making plays after the catch, doing pretty much everything right at a route running standpoint. So Luke Lindenmeyer is becoming more of a well-developed, well-rounded tight end. He's not just a one-trick pony blocking guy that we've seen in the past. And that's why I think he's going to be so dynamic for Nebraska. He lit it up in that private workout with Dylan Raiola about a month ago. He lit it up time and time again in spring practice. That's why when Nate Borkerture ended up transferring to Texas A&M, Nebraska, they weren't freaking out because they knew they had basically 2.0 here in Luke Lindenmeyer, who might just be better when it's all said and done. And he still has 2 years of eligibility left. So Luke Lindenmeyer is somebody who right now is the odds-on favorite. We'll circle back to him when I preview who I think is going to win this battle. But then, of course, you have the fan favorite. This is Heinrich Haarberg going into his last year of eligibility, his first year at that tight end position, 6'3", 200 and about, I'd say he's about 235 pounds at this point in time. Now, Haarberg, we know what he is as an athlete. He's super athletic, right? You've seen him catch football before. He can run the football at a high level. Obviously, he did that at that quarterback spot. My only concern about Haarberg is I think we made this transition way too late. Like if he went into college, maybe in transition to tight end going to year 2, year 3, he would be elite already. But the fact that he's going into, I think he's 23 years old at this point. He's now learning how to play tight end. It's a little bit too late. It's almost too late. It's hard to make that transition in just 1 year. He's got to put on a lot of weight. He's got to learn how to block at a high level. We know he can catch fairly well. But who says if he gets smacked by a Big Ten linebacker at the line of scrimmage that he's going to really take that? I don't think that's going to happen. So that's the thing about Heinrich Haarberg. I don't expect him to be a traditional tight end for Nebraska this year. But with that being said, we're going to use him a lot in these jet sweeps. We're going to use him a lot out wide. We're going to put him in the backfield. But it should be noted, Dana Holgorsen said this in the past, we're not going to give him any, free slips, just like we did last year. Marcus Satterfield felt bad for Haarberg. He put him in, and he'd do these crazy, I remember that Illinois game where Heinrich went in the backfield. Dylan pitched it to Heinrich. Heinrich passed it back to Dylan on this trick play. And then we only threw about 10 yards down the field for a first down. It was like the stupidest trick play of all time. And that's what we do last year to get Heinrich Haarberg involved. Anyways, I saw that to say this. We're not doing that this year. Okay, there's no free slips. There's no pity snaps. Okay, Heinrich's going to have to earn every snap he gets. I think he's going to play a lot, but will it be a traditional tight end? Probably not. Then Markway is somebody we just need to talk about because another guy who just doesn't get discussed enough. This could very well be your starting tight end. This could very well be the most talented tight end on the roster already. Former big-time recruit coming out of St. Louis. He played as a true freshman at LSU. He was really, really good for the Tigers. Transferred, obviously, some issues with his positional coach. Went over to Nebraska. Basically showed up on campus and said, hey, I want to be Husker. This is a guy who, once again, very similar to Luke Lindenmeyer, 6'4", already 260 pounds. He's a great blocking tight end. He's huge, but man, is he physically impressive. Man, he is. He can run at a high level. He can catch at a high level. Great catch radius. He's an all-around tight end. There's a reason why a lot of people think he could go to the NFL. The only thing about Markway that's been this way his entire career, can he stay healthy? He's never been healthy throughout his high school career. He's never been healthy throughout his college career. He got banged up the second he got Nebraska last season. He's going to be ready for fall camp, but if he were to start this year for Nebraska, Can he stay healthy throughout the course of these 12 games? I just don't know if I'm anticipating that. But from a physicality standpoint, from what you see on the field and in practice, he might just be already better than those two guys that we just talked about. So just got to stay healthy. And speaking of healthy, we go to arguably the biggest question mark in our tight end core right now, and that's Carter Nelson, who's, of course, going into his second year, played a lot as a true freshman last year, big-time recruit, almost a 5-star guy out of Ainsworth. The thing about Carter Nelson is, once again, can he stay healthy? Okay, and also, can he put on weight? Because last year, he just wasn't big enough. We tried to put him in a wide receiver, but he wasn't physically gifted enough to play wide receiver over guys like Isaiah Neyor or Jamal Banks. Like, he's physically gifted to play tight end, but then when you put him out wide and you play against corners who run 4.4s and also are 6'2", 6'3", it's a little harder to stand out. So Carter Nelson, his traditional position is tight end. We need to put him there this year, but my big issue with Carter Nelson is he's been injured basically all of the summer. How much weight did he really put on over the past couple months with his hip injury? Because that limits a lot of what you do in the weight room. That's what he needs to focus on. Just put it on weight. Because I'm not really worried about his physical abilities. Okay, we know he has a great catch radius. We know he can make plays with the ball in his hands. He saw that in the Northern Iowa game. We saw that multiple times last year. So I'm not worried about his development. Just put on weight, because you can't be 230 and play tight end in the Big Ten. You just can't do that. You got to be at least 245, really. At least 240. That's pretty much the borderline. So all about him putting on weight, continuing to look like a big tight end, and then he'll be ready for fall camp. So as it stands, those are the 4 players who are really in position to play, in position to be our starters. Now, what do I think actually happens? I think as it stands right now, Luke Lindenmeyer is going to be the starter. From what we saw in spring ball, he's the guy who's consistently healthy. He does everything right off the field. The coaching staff loves him. I see no reason why Luke Lindenmeyer is not going to be the starter. Now, the second string, I think it's going to be Markway. I feel really, really good about him. The staff loves him. It's just somebody, once again, you just got to stay healthy, because he's so much more physically impressive than Haarberg. He already has so much more weight on him than Haarberg. If Haarberg were to start over Markway, it just means Markway's not healthy. Like, that's just the way I look at it. Now, and not to disrespect what Haarberg's doing, obviously ruined for him, but he's making this transition a little bit too late in his career. I just don't believe he's going to be up to a good place weight-wise. I don't believe he's going to be blocking against, Big Ten edge rushers, Big Ten linebackers. Sure, he can block a Big Ten DB, but that's not going to happen at tight end. You're going to have to block edge rushers. He can't really do that. So with Haarberg, I think his role is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more like a utility knife. More so, again, you're going to play in the slot. You might play in the backfield. You're going to be putting these jet sweeps. You're going to be kind of a decoy. You might stop some trick plays with him. We'll see. But if you're expecting Haarberg to be maybe that traditional tight end, I just don't know if he's going to be our starter or our second stringer. And then Carter Nelson, I'm at the point of Carter where I just don't know if he plays this year. I think the staff might just say, hey, we're not going to risk it with you. We're only going to play in a couple of games. They might just do Riley Vipalpo 2.0 with Carter Nelson. And that's honestly the route I think they're going to go, is they're going to put him in 4 games. Maybe it's going to be later in the year when he gets completely healthy, and they're going to preserve his redshirt. I fully expect it to happen, because I don't think Carter Nelson's body is going to be at that point where they feel really comfortable putting him on the field. So Matt Rhule's done that a lot in the past. He redshirts guys in years 2. I think he's going to do the exact same thing with Carter Nelson. You heard it here first. If it happens, don't tell me I told you so. So, all right, guys, that's my preview of, in my opinion, the biggest positional battle for Nebraska, the tight end spot. Let me know your thoughts down below. Who do you think is going to be the starting tight end? Maybe you think it's going to be Haarberg. Let me know your reasoning in the comment section. Maybe you think it's going to be Markway. Let me know down below. Hey, if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go on, roll, and I'll see you in the next one.